Welcome to DMR Deep Dive. My name is Nick Risch, president of DMR Events, and today I have with me Doug Risch, the founder of DMR. And our focus today is going to be on the origin story of DMR and how this company began and how we began serving our clients and our workforce. So first, Doug, I guess the simple question. So how did DMR start?
About the early part of the 80s, 82-ish, 81-ish. Um, I I had a company that I was trying to build, and bottom line is it just didn't work. And my wife at the time goes, you really need to work, and you'd make a good waiter. So I went out and started doing bartending and stuff. And then I realized that as a bartender or a waiter, they would ask me, okay, you do this. Do you have somebody else that can help you? Da, 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 da. And it kind of just kept growing. Um, the biggest thing was Chef Jim Wallace at Children's Hospital. Thanks to Richard Nix Sr., I got the contract to do children's, and that's really where we started.
So would you say that children's was the first job for DMR, or what do you think would be our first
I think the first job for DMR would have probably been Nuco Enterprises out of St. Charles. I was working with Lewis and Clark Restaurant, and these guys all came in all the time. And so I started talking with them, and I think that would probably have to be considered my first.
So other than being, I guess, required to work, what kind of got you into the hospitality industry?
Kind of stumbled because I didn't do it the normal way people get into restaurant catering, this type stuff. I I didn't grow up working around that type of stuff. Um, Probably the biggest thing that got me to realize that I could make money at it, and then to realize that it could be a career. Um, when I got to college, I had money to pay for my books, money to pay for my tuition, no money for food or housing. And if you've got no money, cooking is a great way. You go into the restaurant and you say, "Hey, look, I want a meal. you know, I'll do this. You feed me." And I ended up uh, cleaning the grill every night.
So as we grew, and the staffing industry side of it grew, and we put more people in there. When did the cook start to come into place?
Cooks came into place. Maybe you'd be better at telling me the dates. But when Mike Armstrong came on board, I remember hiring Mike specifically to build a cooking side of this. Well, Armstrong said, well, if you're going to have a cook division, you're going to have to know how to cook. And I go, how hard can that be? And he took me out for about 3 days. And after the third day, he goes, don't worry about it. I'll take care of the cooks. But Mike was the big plus. And that really, I believe, that took us from a mom and pop kind of organization to being somebody that we could grow on.
So if somebody just starting out in this world, in this industry, what kind of advice through your ups and downs would you give them?
Biggest thing I think is to understand how hard this business is. We watch the Emeril Lagasse's and the Guy Ferraris and all of these guys, and we think this is how it works. Well, that's not really true. Charles and I were talking in here earlier, and one of the things that really come into play is the fact that 200 people for dinner tonight is not a goal. We're going to have 200 people for dinner tonight, and we are going to have to get that job done. It takes discipline and it takes experience. Um, if I could ever learn how to teach somebody how to walk in and see a room, I could make $1 million.
So as you look back on your career and the company that you were able to build, and also the people that you're able to help, I know it's one of the things that we've talked about a lot. A lot of our workforce and the demographic that we work with, and the money that we're able to put into people's pockets, uh, is a good value for us as individuals. So as you look back at your career with DMR, what kind of thoughts do you have?
I've really been extremely fortunate. You got to remember, well, you do remember. Do I look like somebody that has a plan? I don't. And everything that we did because we knew how to get it done. And I've been very satisfied. Yes, I've made some big time mistakes. Um, and I wish that I had been able to give a better planned passing from me to you. But, it, you're smarter than I am. Um, but that's been the big thing. And the helping people, I have always believed that. I have always believed that we are here to serve. When I was running catering, we fed families of people that couldn't afford food. When we did the riots, we fed families and organizations and that were being impacted that couldn't help themselves. And just with our company, the number of people we've been able to help in various different ways.
Well, that's one of the biggest things that I've found over the last 20 plus years working with you is having that opinion of somebody calls, can you do this? Yes. How? I don't know that yet.
I don't know that.
So what are some of the big jobs I kind of think of? You talked about some of the civil unrest, the Columbia wedding, some of that types. What are some of the big events that you'll always remember?
One is everybody needs to remember in my particular case, and I'm not advocating this for everybody, but in my particular case, winning was a whole lot more important than money. To say we won. You talked about the wedding up in Columbia. Yes, we did make money. And we were very fortunate. But Mike and I, just as fast as they would throw changes to us, we just made those changes happen. The job with the riots, what did we get? We got called on Tuesday, and I asked them when they needed to feed, and they said Thursday evening.
Yeah, 3,000 people in 48 hours.
In 48 hours. And I mean, we didn't have a kitchen. We didn't have any food. We didn't have any place to store it. But those are the kind of things, though, that they excited us. They excited us. I mean, can we do this? Of course we can do this. How are you going to do it? I have no idea. And it will probably be a little rough at times.
But it always worked out, and that flexibility and ability to just say yes, we'll figure it out is, I think, what really helped us grow, and people trust us. So,
and I was really proud. I'm very proud of the fact that if there's ever something that nobody has any idea how to do, my name gets brought up. And I'm sorry that you'll end up with those in the future. But, it's just amazing that we've been able to do this for, what are we coming up on, our 30th or 40th?
You'll almost be 40 years next year.
Be 40 years next year. 40 years. That's pretty amazing. And I know when you came on board, I don't think we were thinking we were going to be here in 40 years.
Well, thanks, Doug, for coming on this episode of DMR Deep Dive. Today we took a little dive into our history and the origin story of DMR. Thanks again, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Later.